got MVP Phoenix. First time we're going to be seeing them. I think it'd be foolish not to spend most time just kind of covering them for our viewers, and who better than Purge to kind of jump in and just set the scene for MVP Phoenix coming in as an invited team.
Yeah, it's a team that maybe was surprising to invite since they were a little bit different than how they played at TI, different rosters obviously. But they're almost the same now. Frev did have a brief stint playing on Secret for a few months, but that fell apart. He left the team. Now back to MVP. So from their original 5-man roster that they kept a long time, the new player is Velo, actually. So other than that, about the same. Still very talented. Similar play styles. Definitely has potential for upsets. Pretty much every major they go to, they knock a better rated team out of the winner's bracket in their first match every single time. So they're definitely a big threat.
So teams just kind of, is it the cut that they haven't got a grasp of them? They don't prepare as hard for them? They seem to always be causing upsets?
I would just say it's a different playstyle. Would you agree, Winter? Like
different
playstyle than like a lot of the other expected teams.
Yeah.
MVP has always been so aggressive.
I think this is just MVP's thing. They can beat anyone, but they can lose to anyone.
Oh, gosh. So, I mean, surely that's inconsistency. That's the word we use here.
It's just how they play. High risk, high reward.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they don't prioritize farming. They prioritize taking team fights. And it works because they're so on the same page. They definitely know when somebody's out of position as a team. So it's like they all react perfectly. And that's one advantage that they sometimes have over other teams, even if their individual skills not as high as competitors.
And of course, going up against them is Team NP, who, well, I mean, they started and the game was almost over immediately. Virtus Pro did do a number on them, and now they're going to go ahead and try and battle for redemption. Certainly no slouches, though. Eternal Envy, MSS, SVG, and Rose. We promise his hair is pink in real life.
I think it's hard to judge them so far just because they
really
played
fair.
against VP, who, they've looked super strong. So it's kind of like if your first bracket of games happens to be against a team that we're probably going to say is going to be finalists, then it is difficult to gauge. They didn't look great. I think they definitely need to pick themselves up. They've got good players. They've got good knowledge. I mean, they should be doing better, and I expect them to do better in this game.
Is this, I mean, you guys know the personalities much better than me. Is this a roster that would perhaps, be prone to the TILT, to losing a game so considerably and then, falling off the face of the planet, tilting a little bit? Is that something that these personalities... Hang on, no. Look at Winter's reaction. This is perfect. So you know them. What are you saying here? I'm seeing nods.
Well, there's Jackie Mao, so...
Yeah, Envy is kind of, I would say, known for perhaps...
Absolutely.
Making errors occasionally, but he's also rightly known for being a fabulous player and capable of doing things that are brilliant and winning games. So
he should be an MVP,
Who?
Jackie.
Well, because it's risk and reward.
I mean, he's kind of like QO, except QO maybe does a little bit less of that mistakes. But what I like about MP as a team is that they do make those mistakes, sometimes as a team occasionally, but they still are very good and they still win games. It's very interesting how that works out for them. And they looked not good earlier today, but in the last couple of weeks, they had a huge upswing of performance. They got second at Beat Invitational, losing 0-2 to Wings, but they knocked out some pretty good teams. I think they could place decently high this event.
Now, while we have you, we saw MSS early today, and he is actually featured in our matchup we bring up. Every time before we do jump into a game, we choose two players and throw them head-to-head. You chose the off-lane this time. Why was that, Kevin?
Yeah, I think these are the two crucial roles for both teams. Frev often plays teamfight initiator heroes, like things like Axe, Tidehunter, people that know when it's time to go in and to start the fight. They make few mistakes. MSS, similar playstyle, extremely high individual skill, can be pretty diverse in his play styles, but both of them are arguably some of the most mechanically talented on each team. So I feel like for both teams, they are the crucial hero, the crucial player, that is. When MSS does well, NP wins. That's one of the most common things that casters say, because it's definitely true. If you can shut him down, he's usually the one that makes plays if NV drops the ball a little bit. Okay,
so it's kind of if there was a priority order, it would be NV and then MSS in terms of finding success, win conditions, having performance on both.
Maybe the other way. I would say MSS then NV, most likely.
What about you, Winter? You think MSS is an integral part to success for them?
Yeah, it's very important. Like we saw in the series against VP, they sacked everyone else and they just took care of Aoi. And look what happened to them in that game. Like both games were so difficult for them.
Yeah. I wonder if Purge, you're going to be swayed with your predictions here. You've seen both. I know that you've certainly seen a lot of MVPs play.
Yeah.
What are you saying?
I would say NP has the drafting knowledge that they should be able to give themselves an advantage over it. MVP, because they're one of the heavy theorycraft teams, in my opinion. I think that's what you need to look at what MVP consistently does.
Sometimes they overthink things.
Totally agree. Yeah. But if they give it 90% and don't play E-Blades on draw when they're winning, then yes, they'll win.
Okay, so one for MP. What about you, Ted?
I backed MP before.
You did?
I was pretty horribly wrong. But like I said, my reasons for backing them here, and I'm going to, is that they did play against VP, who were, in my opinion, almost certainly going to be one of the 2 finalists, if not, top 4 at least. So I do think they can beat MVP. I think MP will have gone away and thought about it. Like Kev said, they do theorycraft a lot, and I think I'll say MP to win. But I think it might be 2-1 rather than 2-0.
Is this going to be our first panel where everyone predicts that? Nah, there it is. Winter, what's going on with you?
I think MVP can definitely beat MP. I mean, they had a rough first series. They got stomped pretty badly. I didn't watch the games, but
Sure.
I think MVP, people say that in scrims they were really scary, so I'm going to stick to that.
Sticking to that. But,
Yeah.
I mean, isn't there always a discussion about you take scrims with a pinch of salt? Or, I mean, do I assume that transfers into Dota or not so much?
I'd give it 75% accurate, maybe.
You would?
Yeah.
Okay. So
not,
MVP
not
is scary in
100%,
scrims?
not 100%, but
Definitely.
I mean, if you're winning your scrims, you're definitely doing something right.
Yeah, sure. And, I mean, just because I really like your belt buckle today, which they can't see, I'm going to go with you. I like to make really educated predictions. MVP for me.
I'm upset about that, but...
I mean, I've already told you I love your tie clip. Come on now. I can't be throwing compliments around all the time. Otherwise, they lose their meaning.
I'm just looking at MVP's drafts from the first 2 games.
Okay, piecing it together.
They're kind of interesting. The first game they went Drow, Visage, Prophet, and then
Did
they had Ogre.
did they do a
Disruptor.
mid Visage?
Weird.
I guess. And then in the other game they had Naga Siren, Venge, Axe, Undying, Witch Doctor.
Okay.
So and they were up against a Drow morph.
No wonder they lost. They did a mid Visage.
Yeah, I get it. Like Visage Drow is like a combo, but it didn't work out, and they lost in 21 minutes as well.
They have Visage and they have Prophet.
Yeah.
It does seem like the community is favouring NP in this one. Let's not forget that both of these teams have conceded a 2-0 or a 0-2 coming into this game now.
I think NP is more likely to win, but I think that number's also off. I think MVP.
The community votes with their heart.
Yeah, you don't have to assume that this is educated. Educated predictions. This is usually just, predictions that I make. Like I like his belt buckle or something along those lines.
Oh,
I like
okay.
Rose's hair.
Thanks.
That's probably
But
what.
I really like MVP. Like they're really nice guys. I like their team. I like the way they play.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I would back them. But I just think MP have to bounce back. I think they've got to.
Okay, well, with all of that said, it is draft time. And this is always fun when you get to see the analysts' faces as the draft completely changes their opinion. But it is almost ready. And already you're saying MVP is drafting madness at the moment, Ted. Is that what you're telling me? That it's been a bit of a weird journey in the first
I
game?
just think they were trying stuff out.
Okay, experimenting.
I mean,
They're not trying stuff out. They just like those Kyo. Basically, he drafted mid Visage.
But I mean, in both games, it was like completely different.
Yeah.
2 completely different lineups. Like it was just kind
Drow
of
again.
maybe they're trying to find their lineup for this tournament, that their go-to sort of lineup. But we'll see.
So the common trends, let's quickly outline them. Winter, what have we seen like in terms of the draft? What has been a recurring presence in the bans?
Well, I think it really depends on what team you're playing against. Like every series has their own set of bans.
Sure.
But I think that what we see in common is how important is laning. I don't think I'll change my opinion on that. I think laning phase has been extremely crucial in all the games we've seen today.
I was having a quick look. It does seem like Batrider has been banned or picked in almost every single game. In fact, every single game, 100% ban or pick rate so far here at the Boston Major. Oh, and that's our first Warlock I think we've seen.
On mainstream, at least.
On mainstream,
Yeah.
excuse me.
It's definitely an absolute staple of NP. They've been doing this for weeks here, so no big surprise.
Yeah.
Gives you
It's a
great
very good
laning
hero.
advantage. It's definitely a good skirmish advantage as well. Fatal
Mhm.
Bonds is fantastic against an enemy team that's constantly fighting because they can't just disengage, heal up, come back into the fight. So
You just can't beat Warlock in a team fight. It's very difficult in the early game. He's like way too strong. We've seen teams draft around it. Recently, I think I saw like a Panda, like Brewmaster pick being used against the Rock with the Dispel. The
Sure.
Storm aspect, you have the Dispel, and you can Dispel the Fatal Bonds as well. Like the Fatal
Mhm.
Bonds is just so much damage in the early fights. And not only that, when you lose a fight against Warlock, you lose objectives. He takes your towers very easily. That's why the hero is actually very, very strong in the meta.
Yeah, and of course we can just quickly highlight as to why. While we are waiting for MVP Phoenix, I'd love Winter if you could just explain, the strengths both with his, his Fatal Bonds, his heal, his ultimate. He's got almost everything you need.
Yeah, he's very good in the lane, like Kevin mentioned. Like laning phase-wise, like how much I'd like to reiterate how important it is in the laning phase right now in the current meta, and Warlock definitely has everything. The lanes, the heal, the team fight.
It's intense. It is. And has anyone been kind of when I asked before, I said the Warlock. Why haven't we seen it before? You said it depends on the team.
Yep.
this one makes sense to NP. And can anyone explain as to why? It's just knowing the players, knowing their playstyle. Is that
I
what it
think
is?
most of the teams would pick Warlock
Yeah,
if they
okay.
could. Like a lot of the teams.
It's certainly a signature of NP though. They've been doing a lot of reliance on like Fatal Bonds,
Yeah.
like
The Starstorm.
Mirana. Yeah, exactly.
I
Double
see.
Starstorm. Get AoE skills to
Oh.
match with Fatal Bonds to get kills.
Earth Spirit, I think Warlock plus Earth Spirit is probably the most scary one.
That sounds pretty good, yeah. I think the one thing that NP has to focus on, and I think they are adjusting MVP's playstyle, they have to stop the ability for MVP to do fights that are like 45 seconds, 1 minute long. They have to like get in there, take the fight, and win it. If they lose fights and they don't have Warlock ulti anymore, they're going to run into some big trouble. So in some ways, grabbing heals is a good way to offset that. It's kind of like grabbing skills that allow you to do what MVP normally playstyle is good at. Just keep your heroes alive, constantly trade until you get a kill or an advantage.
MVP has the Ogre plus Lifesteal, and MP responded with the same thing. In the previous series, when they saw the Lifesteal, they went for the Omni.
Is it just a kind of snap reaction, knee-jerk reaction?
That's kind of good.
It's the same thing they did in the last series, so
Mm.
I think it's something that they think it's a counter, like anti-strat.
Hey! Stop taking the mickey out of my dumb lingo. A counter. It's a counter.
It's not dumb, it's just new here. That's all. We're just a little uncertain.
Yeah.
Anti-strat.
It's
I
definitely
haven't-
good. I mean, Omni ults and Lifestealer does no more damage. Like that part alone is amazing. You can heal and repel whoever gets gone on in the first place, possibly keep them alive. But that's a lot of what MP looks like right now. If they can't keep whoever gets initiated on alive with their heals, they're going to lose the fight almost for sure.
Yeah, but the thing with having Omni Knight plus Warlock is like you don't have an off laner that has a initiate. Like
It's true.
when you draft Warlock, you want to have multiple ways of initiating, so
Yeah.
your Golem can be used at the right time. You don't want to just see the enemy and use the Golem right
yeah,
away.
yeah. It's too easy for them to just like walk away, you do want to time it right, and I guess you can play around it. Like if you know the enemy team's just looking for you to group up so they can just drop a golem on you, if you can play around that, then it kind of skewers their chances.
I mean, Rubik is really, really good against
Yeah.
Warlock. There's a lot of it's quite easy to steal the Golem, and if you don't get the Golem, you're most likely getting Fatal Bonds, which is also great for your team.
Omni out as well, you can steal. Yeah, in fact, most of Omni's spells are really good to steal. So.
Mhm. Another hard disable. It's not bad at all.
Yeah, basically what MVP has right now is non-cooldown reliant lineup. Rubik, Lifestealer, Ogre doesn't really have any long cooldowns, and MP from their opening draft, they've already tell their enemies, we're gonna play with our big cooldowns, we're gonna want to group up, fight you, and that's just what it's gonna be our plan. And MVP, they're just like a team. Like
Sure.
everyone said, they run at you. They rarely draft around like spells that rely on very long cooldowns. They are always running at you, trying to take fights all the time. So they don't like to play like this.
And what's cool about this, in my opinion, is that if NP only picks strong team fight things, then MVP can kind of just try to move around the map, gank, farm, and go passive, and they can do that with Ogre because it's going to help give all of their cores way more farm
I
speed.
mean, that really depends on how NP builds up their rest of the heroes for their team fight lineup. Because when you have like a very heavy team fight composition lineup, you want to have other heroes that can actually push the lane, split push, and when the lanes are all pushed out, then you can group up as 5 and you run at the enemy's towers. So Mirana would be really, really good for that.
Yeah.
Not only for the Fatal Bonds, but because of the lanes.
Well,
Ooh,
they've
got a
got Timbersaw. So
Hey.
Yep, no non-cooldown reliant, and it's very, very good in the laning phase.
So there's very little cooldown reliance then on MVP.
Hard to kill.
Timber plus Ogre. Like if you look at their lanes, Timber plus Ogre, it's going to cause a lot of problems for the MP's lane.
also, if you think so far, they've only got Arrow like as a stun, or
That they don't have
Golem.
very,
That's it. It's hard for them to lock down the Timbersaw. Drow Ranger.
Another one.
They're all inning on this, I think. Drow Ranger, Mirana.
Yep.
It's not a weird MP draft at all. These are all super standard heroes
Still-
that
Yeah.
they pick.
Their
Yeah.
lanes, I don't know. I'm very worried about their lanes.
Do they
Like,
not have to then look at all at what MVP Phoenix are doing and thinking, how do we stop Timbersaw? How do we stop
I'm
Lifesteal?
sure like
They just-
MVP is like they don't even worry about what MP has right now. They're just gonna focus on what they have. They're gonna win the lanes, like what we saw happen in the series where MP lost to VP. They had a very solid like 5-man lineup, but they lost their lanes way too hard.
I don't think their laning's that bad though. I mean, they could do Omni Knight versus Timber 1v1. That's fantastic for Omni. Especially pre-6, Timber's not going to be able to out DPS what Omni's doing.
Yeah, but Timber. No, I think the lanes will probably be the Timber plus Ogre against the Drow lane. It's very difficult for them to zone the Timber. When Timber gets level 3, 2 points reactive.
But they still have another support to pick. You've got Drow Ranger, you've got Warlock, who's already amazing, plus Drow Aura. If you get another hero like Witch Doctor or something with some
Yeah,
Maledict
they have to draft
or
like
a
something
stun
that's like this, because usually I know
disruptor,
SVG plays like the roamer, like the Elder Titan, the Earth Spirit, he's like the roaming guy They usually don't play like this, but yeah, they have to like adjust accordingly towards the enemy. I mean, they could possibly have a pretty good lane for that, like a range. They need a tri-range hero to zone the Ogre plus the Timber.
Disruptor or something.
Yeah, but still, I think the Ogre should be able to do enough to ensure that the Timber, as long as the Timber gets 2 things, Poor Man's Shield plus 2 points in reactive, it's going to be very hard for them to zone.
I don't know if I agree. 1 skill point in Warlock with Shadow Word, that's 180 damage. 1 skill point in Thunderstrike, that's like 300 magic damage.
He's not going to be alone. Ogre's going to be there to tank the other spells. Like, basically,
I guess that's
what
true.
the Ogre has to do is to make sure that the supports use their mana on him.
Right.
So the Timber farms the lane and he gets the Poor Man's Shield and level 3, 2 points in reactive. Once that happens, the Timber's just going to be able to farm in the lane.
So it's just a question of like getting to level 3 and then Timber is
that's the
is
Ogre's.
comfortable.
That's the Ogre's job. He needs to make sure the supports can't touch the Timber. And Ogre is, you know, the strongest hero in the
he
first
is
5
pretty
minutes.
big as well.
Yeah,
just
8
kind
armor.
of moving in front of everything. No worries. It looks like we have got a confirmation it is going to be a Venomancer.
Yep. So this is kind of a cool way to do it. So if they are going to have trouble with contesting that off
Wait,
lane,
are they jungling the Venom?
then that's the thing. They could put it in the jungle. If they're aggro dual laning, put it in the jungle instead, get really fast levels, and then he can rotate and do tons of magic damage. Or they can put Veno as a support in the lane to just have so much magic that he can help zone Timber even if he has reactive armor and Poor Man's Shield.
So they're going to actually have who was playing? I think MSS was playing the Venom. It's going to be like an off-lane Venom support.
Wow. Yeah, it is.
Oh my god,
it's
okay.
confirmed.
I'm very worried about the lanes. I think MVP has very, very good lanes to deal with that.
Okay, so well, I mean that does answer my question. I was going to say everyone comfortable with their predictions. MVP. There you go. You heard it from Winter. He's got faith in MVP, especially given the draft. We'll head over to our casters though. It's Fogged and Toby who are going to be casting through this one. Let's see what they're thinking after watching that.
Fogged, I don't know. I really don't know if we should trust Winter on this one.
Really? I'm liking MVPs.
I'm liking MVPs. It definitely has a lot of merit to it. But at the same time, we were talking about this, the Warlock coming in. There is a lot of dot damage. This is going to tick down. MP may be dead by the time that all of MVP dies, but it still looks like a very rough run if MVP wants to 5v5.
Yeah, but that's the one thing is, are they going to 5v5? It looks like MVP, though. This is what they like to do. They like to do these scrappy fights, just constantly running at you, and this is what they drafted for. I'm happy to see that both teams kind of just went for their own styles, rather than like, they're just like, oh, we're going to counterpick all over the place. No, they're just doing like what they want, but this is kind of an approach that EG did, especially versus like the Timbersaw and stuff. They did it like a lot of magic damage. That's what Veno gives you. That's what Warlock gives you. So we'll see how it ends up working for them, and we'll see if both these teams can actually bounce back from their defeats that they had earlier.
Yeah, and that was pretty crushing. We were looking at the statistics on MP as well as MVP, and MP only just got on the statistic board crushed slightly more because their KDA was a little bit lower. But it's a new day. It's a new fight for these guys, and looking for some kind of momentum as MVP 5-man smoke invade into the MP jungle. So we're looking at the Venomancer to start inside the jungle. MVP want to have something to say about it.
Well, it's MSS playing the Veno, right? So it's he's gonna be laning a bit. So they're gonna try to dodge,
because
right?
they didn't switch it because it's Savage on the Omni Knight.
Yep. And it looks like they're putting heavy emphasis on making sure that this Timbersaw gets a good lane. Like they gave Dubu, he didn't buy anything. He bought a TP, but he started with Windlace, Arbor Venom, and they pulled him a Tango. So he's gonna be running around just he's gonna be Ogre, but he wants to guarantee this Timbersaw's lane in the first scenario. But yeah, NP, like we kind of thought, they're probably going to go for some dodging lanes. They're probably going to put the Veno safe lane as we see this, and Drow Ranger's going to do some like dual lane with the Warlock or the Omni Knight just kind of running around. See which one they decide to do.
Well, for now, the Veno's already planning his banana plantation on bottom lane, so he looks pretty comfortable down there. Nothing too unusual with the rune grabs, and everyone was going to go into their lane. So Dubu starts in the mid, and it does look like MP is at least going to have Savage body block at the start. And then we get this dual offlane. The Warlock as well as the Drow Ranger. That's a lot of base damage from these two. But the sustain from MP is also quite strong. Like if they need to, they can rotate the Omni Knight up. And then you've got that double heal to keep the Drow Ranger aggressive.
They just want to pressure this Lifestealer as much as possible. And we'll see how it works for them, but I think that this bottom lane is going to be interesting. Like Timber's going to free farm. Veno's going to pretty much free farm. And they also, MVP committed both wards into the enemy jungle, so they're going to want to watch those rotations that are going on. And they wanted to make sure that this Veno can't go to the jungle as well. I'm assuming that's why they put that other ward to watch that hard camp. But yeah, laning Veno.
Surprised they still made that move. Like after you see Savage being on the Omni Knight, you're like, well, okay, this is going to be different. But they still committed that vision. So now they can't see if MP rotate off the top lane. Of course, what they can do is just completely zone out Eternal Envy. So he has to salve up already 1 minute in. He's got 1-1 CS against QO. This Ogre has already paid dividends.
Yeah, the one thing I thought NP would do, since they're doing this like dual/tri aggro lane, is at least like block the pole or emphasize a lot on blocking that pole, so that they can obviously just like get the lane back into their favor and just farm under the tower. But they didn't choose to do that. We'll probably see them just try to like maybe pull the side camp as much as possible to make sure they keep their levels up in that tri lane, because you don't want to just keep a tri lane there and just splitting experience in that manner. You definitely want to be sure to maximize as much as possible.
Another lane we've got to keep our eyes on is MSS versus Forev. He's already managed to get Forev down insanely low, so while Eternal Envy keeps burning consumables in the mid, MSS is getting Forev down to his last tango, and that's a level 2 Gale with the Poison Sting, so heavy amounts of damage to Forev, and there's not much he can do about it, apart from actually want MSS to attack him so he gets reactive armor charges.
Yeah, once he gets his Poor Man's Shield, once he gets the, obviously the level 2 reactive armor, which he does have now, it'll start changing up a bit. Maybe we'll see Dubu make a rotation too if he starts feeling too much pressure, but he should be okay as long as he keeps that, as long as he keeps the reactive armor stacks up, which he should be able to do here by just
There's a pincer in mid, Eternal Envy, they come in from both sides, but Dubu's got no mana, so he can't throw an Ignite, he can't throw a stun, and Febby didn't get in range to grab him in, and now the arrow that hits perfectly. Dubu's in trouble. Eternal Envy a Starfall, and that'll be your first blood going the way of NP.
Got him. Yeah, Envy with the nice arrow, nice leap, good awareness there, and he needs that. He's getting pressured super hard in the lane. He needs to get some kills to bring himself back.
It's kind of the downside about those 2 Observer Wards again, right? Like, you don't have any Observer Ward in the mid lane, watching for the TP support to come in. All you do is you just watch inside the Radiant jungle, which is vacant at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, and wow.
He actually got the solo kill?
With the solo kill, with the level 2 Gale, level 2 Poison. Not emphasizing on getting wards at all, obviously, because you can just stack reactive armors with it, and you can farm incredibly easily just killing those plague wards. So Mojo doing a great job in this.
Now they're going to go top lane. Lifesteal is in trouble. He's Fatal Bonded up, but it's Savage. Purification doesn't do any damage as Lifesteal just runs away under the cover of Rage. He's still bonded to one of the creeps in the lane, but that's not enough to kill him. He's just waiting for it to wear off and then salve up.
Yeah, NP's doing a great job of emphasizing on the other 2 lanes, just because they know like the mid lane is kind of tough, even though they can bring in a couple rotations. Envy will struggle a bit on the CS board.
Another rotation. It's going to be a smoke move from Febby and Dubu. MSS stuck around a little bit too long, and now he's going to pay the price for it, so gets ignited. Picked up, TP support, not coming in, so they're going to sacrifice MSS. He hits him with a level 3 Venomous Gale, even commits Fairy Fire. Don't know if he was hoping for that kill on Febby, and in fact, with the Venomous Gale,
he's going to drop.
He's pretty low, but I don't know if it's actually death. Febby, TP comes a little late, but he ticks out all the way in the fountain. He thought he might have been home and hosed, but it's not the case.
The Fairy Fire, dude. That extra right click gets him the kill. Doesn't get experience, of course, but gets a nice 258 gold bounty for MSS there.
You take anything as a Venomancer, you're still like looking at this guy as a 3 position. So,
but with this movement though, they're completely sacking Velo in the short lane. So his tower is going to be taken, and he's going to be pressured really heavily, which is not really what you want as a lifestealer. You definitely want to be able to get at least like 1 or 2 items up, but at least he'll have the lane pushed into him, and he'll be able to get some like free CS once it pushes that far. But we'll probably see NP just keep a hero up here, just keep shoving it in his face so he's not able to just free farm.
I'm wondering who that hero is. Like, if the Drow Ranger, okay, bottom lane, Forev, I don't know if he, with the Timber Chain away, he got hit by both the Nova and the Gale, and that may just be enough magical damage to bring him down. The Nova and the Gale is ticking, the reactive armor charges are giving him the regeneration to survive, but is it enough? He's so low, 12, and he actually chains himself away, but he's still alive. Meanwhile, up on the top lane, the Warlock's going to drop. But the Fatal Bonds connects them up, so Velo not too healthy. Dubu moves into the tree lines. They're still connected by the Fatal Bonds, but no damage coming into the Ogre. The Fatal Bonds are still going to last a little bit longer, so it's setting up. Envy needs to kind of hit that arrow to make it work, but it's not going to happen, so Dubu will just have to sacrifice himself as, Omni Knight will take the kill on the Ogre Magi.
Yeah, MVP smoked up and tried to put some pressure to try to give Lifestealer some space there. They obviously get 1 kill, but losing another because of that Envy rotation. So like you said, though, Envy is doing like those very early rotations, only level 5, and making the moves right away because, QO is pressuring him so hard in that mid lane, just obviously with the constant dagger spam and with the Ogre's assistance in the earlier stage. But man, Forev is getting pressured pretty damn hard. He's getting decent farm, but MSS is definitely coming out ahead on this.
And MSS is going to get an injection of money. And where do you actually go with that as the Venomancer? Do you try and amplify it? Did you look for the Veil?
He can, yeah. Veil's definitely a good choice, especially with the heroes that they already have. Like with Mirana, once he gets that Aghanim Scepter, it boosts it up so much with the Fatal Bonds. Envy now getting jumped on.
Yeah, trying to have a
Should be
crack.
fine,
Rose
though.
is in the neighborhood, so he'll start off with the Shadow Word, but then he gets initiated on. Both the Ignite plus the Blast. Envy with the Starfall. QO is dropping low. Remember, he's got the Shadow Word on him and the Fatal Bonds together. Envy's so low too. They'll find the kill, but Dubu can't. Oh, you can see uphill, and you'll find that hit.
That is a rich Ogre now, getting both of those kills.
They look for a counter attack on the bottom lane. Forev, real issues to run away from this one. It's not the Omni Knight which we saw from MP previously, where they got a lot of early levels, including the points up in D-Gen Aura.
Got him
but
again.
You still have that burst damage from Purification, plus the tick from the Gale.
The max Veno Gale. I mean, it's working with the Veno with the Drow Aura on top too. He's able to put just like a little bit damage, just enough to tick him over the edge. But that Starfall from the Mirana, if it actually hit QO, it would have probably killed him instantly, and Envy could have probably lived in that manner, but a little bit of unfortunate for him because both of them were standing next to him. AUI getting pressured now. He's got a TP.
You do have a stun, however, available on Dubu, plus Febi coming with telekinesis. He wants more help, but nothing's TPing. Oh, Febi just walked straight past him. He didn't react. Now he will get the telekinesis, drag him back. The Gust hits on all three, and they can't stun him. AUI will survive.
Nice play by AUI. A little bit of maybe a misstep by Febi, didn't really get the lift on him right away, but nice little juke into the trees for sure.
And now it's to mid lane. Envy's preparing himself almost like the roaming forward position. Looks for the arrow. Off target. Hero didn't see her coming, but the Starfall will connect. Envy still taking a lot of damage from the tower, but the damage into the creep wave is not enough to kill QO. QO gets the crit, but he's almost down. He drops so low and survives. The Fatal Bonds just didn't do enough work, and Envy needed like just one more hit. One more hit would have done it.
If he hadn't crit there, Envy would have probably turned and killed him. That was very ballsy by QO for sure, but pays off for him, going with the RNG.
That's the MVP style, man. It's YOLO with the RNG as factor. Now, mid lane, Savage comes over. Forev gets hit by the Purification. There is a point up in D-Gen Aura, and they hit the Gust, but the Timber Chain already connects. And drags Forev away.
Yeah, Radiant used a scan bottom. They're expecting a rotation onto MSS. He's hiding now up in the tree line. But yeah, also looking at the wards now from both teams, they obviously wanted to emphasize getting Velo some free farm because you don't want your Lifestealer to obviously just get pressured so hard. So they put that high ward up there to watch the movement. And they even check to see if they have a jungle ward. If NP has a jungle ward, they're up on the high ground. They put a sentry down. So definitely emphasizing on making sure that this Lifestealer gets a bit of a better start than what he was put with.
Envy just came in range of the Tier 1 tower, at least its vision, not its actual range to get hit by. But QO on the run, the slows there. Envy gonna stay in the trees, listening to HY, but QO just wants to walk it off. If he can, he's blocked him, the Plague Ward holds him, he can Phantom Strike up to that range creep and try and get back to the Tier 1 tower. Savage stays on his tail. QO, he's not gonna tick out just yet, the Poison Sting does the work. So the kill goes the way of the Venomancer. Meanwhile, Warlock dies in between the Tier 1 and the Tier 2 tower with a heavy dive from MVP.
That's great for SVG too, because he gets all the experience from that kill, or he gets like a good like surge of experience from getting the PA kill from the Veno Gale. And now they are going to be able to get their own pressure from MVP in the top lane. They end up getting a kill on the Warlock who's rotating up there. But
he's TPing into the middle of three heroes. He's got Repel on him, so they can't stun straight away. But the Repel doesn't last too long, and they know the grab! He caught him with the telekinesis, pulls him back in. Envy! Well, grabbed by the tail and yanked back into MVP.
That's one of those cast point things, you know? It's like the cast was already happening pretty much as the leap happens, but it just looks kind of funny in that manner because it looks like he grabbed him so far away. So a little bit unfortunate for Envy. And he's actually struggling quite a bit on that net worth chart. He's pretty much a little bit below the Timbersaw.
Well, he got nothing in the lane, really. Like, he hits 25 CS, but that's from like coming into the other lanes and then just starfalling it down. So at least you can play catch-up with Mirana. That's better than like an OD, for example, being well behind.
Yeah, and they at least like... Obviously, he wants to get his Aghanims at a good timing, but they have things that like boost his farm, you know, or boost his damage in the fight. So they'll have the Veil eventually on the Venomancer. They'll have Fatal Bonds on top. So at least there's going to be that for him.
Well, Forever's still trying to get up in the face of the Veno. But the rotations from MP, it never really feels like MSS is alone, but it never really feels like he's got multiple people in the lane too. Now AUI comes down, so it's the timing to try and take out the Tier 1 towers. It's around the right timing for this anyway.
Yeah, they want to, I mean, this is Drow, right? You want to group up, you want to be able to take a couple towers, not just one of them at this point. And yeah, you want to be ahead in towers with the Drow lineup, especially when you're playing versus a lineup like MVPs. But MVP could make the rotation. You know, they have PA farming really well. He's got a DD in the bottle. Velo as well has a TP. He's got the Infest up too.
I'm kind of a little bit surprised about AUI going for this. I don't know if he's actually planning on finishing up the entire Dominator, or if it's just meant to be a casual Morbid Mask.
I guess I'm not too sure yet, but well, I mean, we'll see what he usually does. Usually we just see the Dragonlance rush.
Yeah.
But this is a team, you know, this is the theory crafting team. We've mentioned it a billion times. These guys always do these type of, maybe a little bit of unorthodox builds, but they've definitely thought about every little type of
He needs to go
niche thing.
He needs to go like the full old school, but up against a PA would be suicide. I don't know if it was AUI that used to do it. Nice Nile of the Tower by Forev. But the old Mask of Madness with a little bit of crit behind it was...
I knew you were going to say.
Yeah, you knew it too. Yeah, you know me too well, Fogged.
You emphasized that so much. Boston Qualifiers, you were just like, I'm waiting to see it.
Yep.
It's the best.
It is, but not in this game. It's terrible in this game. You'll die so quickly in this game if you build it.
Yeah.
But with the Dominator, like you said, it's a theory crafting team.
Yeah.
If AUI thinks he can get away with it...
Definitely possible. They want to have like more like ways to just catch up and farm. MVP now go for the smoke. They're bringing QO. He like I said, he does have the DD waiting for the secondary rune.
Rose was so close to breaking that smoke on Febby.
But this could be good go time for NP too. He's got the Tome of Knowledge up on the Warlock. He's able to eat it to get his 6 if he wants to for the next engagement. So they're just going to go for their own pressure.
They're using AUI as bait. This is so different to what we saw when MP played their series earlier, where they used AUI as the bait with the Drow Ranger, and everyone was waiting behind. That was when you had like the OD, it wasn't doing much. Now MV shows himself. Oh, the timing looks exactly the same. The difference is NP know they have a superior fight. They've got the Warlock. They're waiting for MP to initiate, and then they're just going to drop the rock. Gale's going to miss, so Velo, actually, sorry, the Gale connected on the Live Stealer. So
MVP
he's getting
rotated.
tighter for now.
They've rotated heavily, though. They really don't want to lose this tower for free.
Trade-off is going to be the Timbersaw. Forev has not come to fight, so he's just trying to push out
I wonder
the
if
bot lane, and Febby stole Plague Wards. This is going to be really difficult now for MP to get up.
I'm trying to think of like I think Theban, I think Rose is trying to next level them. I think if they're checking like the levels, they see level 5, but he's ready to eat that tome and get level 6 instantly as soon as the farm
But they should also see the tome on him, right?
Yeah, but I mean sometimes you're not really looking at that, right? You're checking the list and you're
Here
just like,
comes
okay,
a
it's
jump.
5.
Envy comes in through
Here
the
we
rear.
go.
He sees QO. The tower is pretty low. Now the rock drops. The Felipons connect QO and Dubu together as that Mirana drops the Starfall. The PA evaporates. Even the Nova doing some good work, and the Guardian Angel allowing MSS to walk right in front of all of MVP. Varev's dropping too quickly. Now even Velo, he's going to get kited out. Eternal Envy rotates over. He has to infest. He's inside the melee creep. 3 heroes down for MVP, and Livestealer's trying to hitch a ride back to the safety of his tier 2 tower.
Said it a bunch of times. You can't really fight into this, you know, into all these ultimates, even with the Guardian Angel on top too. Like,
oh, this is nice. Febby stole
definitely too hard.
purification, so he can help out Velo to get him back. Oh, he just purified himself. He didn't actually purify the Livestealer, so Vela has to go into the rage. Now they look for another jump in. As Omni Knight going in very deep. QO back to the front lines. They want an opening. The Stifling Dagger slowing down MSS. Febby doesn't really have a lot to work with, so QO, they use the purification and the crit into MSS. He'll drop down. The Golem's still there, and they're fatally bonded up again. MVP is going to be a double kill for MSS on the Venomancer.
so much burst damage.
And MVP, they're fighting willingly into this.
Wow. I mean, great plays by NP though, they're forcing it though. They're trying to push the towers and they're forcing MVP to react.
Forev's thinking about defending this. Oh, he gets hit by the arrow mid-timber chain. Support's coming over again. Envy, that purification from Savage will do his work. Forev needs to get some space here. He turns around with the stick charges, but it's going to be Savage. Velo, the damage for Rev. Good thing he didn't leave. He brought the extra deeps to find the kill on the Omni Knight, but they want more. They want Eternal Envy. But he leaps away, bottles up after bountying the rune. And he is home and hosed. Unless Velo has the movement speed, but you got leap off cooldown 9. Yeah, they've lost him.
Yeah, but still, like that was a great play by NP though. They just forced that engagement, and MVP felt like they needed to respond just to try to make sure that they don't lose this tower for free. But they end up just getting caught by everything pretty much, getting completely fatal bound up. Everybody gets hit by the golem, and now on top of this, the next fight's going to be even harder for them too because Venomancer has a Veil finished up. He's going to be level 11 as well, so even more magical burst. And you know, the little cool interaction that some people may forget is that if you're poison over and you're fatal bonded, it becomes obviously lethal with the damage ticks.
Because the Fatal Bonds obviously makes it lethal when Nova normally doesn't. MVP at least try to force the issue while the Rock is down. It's another 20 seconds before Rose has that back again.
It's already coming up that soon, huh?
Yep.
That's pretty crazy how long that entire engagement in the mid lane ended up going on.
It really did drag on a very long time because then there was also that side fight, right? Like the Fatal Bonds then does its work. So you're still fighting even though like you don't need to have the rock, but when you have the rock, the confidence of MP is just so high.
Yeah, now he did go for the Dominator on the Drow Ranger, so he's going to be able to like stack up some camps and everything when he wants to, but it seems like he's actually more so emphasizing and just putting it to the lanes and farming with it right now, at least. He's sending it toward the top lane, getting ready to just spam out, push the lanes in a bit harder.
Well, nice Observer Ward. They'll see Velo. QO also gets hit by the Nova. Dodges out from the Gale. Thanks to that Phantom Strike up to the Lifestealer. Yeah, the distance, so MSS's ulti is down. That's a long cooldown for that one too. 2 minutes. Normally you want to be able to combo that with a Warlock.
Yeah, it was only level 1 as well, so he didn't even get to like level it up to the 120 seconds rather than 140. So yeah, down for about 2 minutes. But his ulti's not the big one, you know. It's obviously the Warlock ult, the Guardian Angel are the ones that are much more emphasized.
Well, MP going to add some pressure to the bottom lane. Eternal Envy leading the charge. Thanks to their Observer Ward, they're going to probably feel pretty confident to fight around this bot lane. Not to mention the Venomancer just creates a nice perimeter with his own Plague Wards.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting them to use the Infest Bomb at one point, like a little bit sooner, but just because of how shut down Velo was in the laning phase, they're not really able to do that. They don't really want to bring those situations to happen.
They really hate that Dominated creep. AUI loses his Satyr on top lane. Now they look towards the middle lane. The Gust hits on the Lifestealer, just trying to walk it off. A Stifling Dagger also slowing down AUI, but Velo rages, TP's out. Again, there's no cancel that's able to penetrate that immunity. And while that happens up on top lane, QO has already moved on. The arrow flies forward. Dubu manages to dodge it as it goes through the valley. Eternal Envy get a Moonlight Shadow, allowing MP to come stealthily up behind MVP. But they're not fast enough. Even with stealth, they don't have the speed to reach MVP.
Yeah, definitely able to back out there. Good forcing the reactions though for MVP. But it's funny though. Like you expect you look at MVP's lineup and they obviously don't have all these like they don't have these long cooldowns for their ultimates. NP, they're just looking to fight every single 2 seconds, even without the Warlock in the positions for it.
Top lane, here's that fight again. Eternal Envy gets to leap down over the tree line. He wants to get far away. QO's coming up close, and there's your Stifling Dagger. Crit number 1. He might need a second if he wants the kill as Forev, actually, he goes down. He Timber chains forward. He might want to chain himself back up in a sec. But Febi's moved over too. So MSS, under the cover of Invis, grabs the Mirana, throws him back, and then steals Leap to get back to the Tier 2 tower. Kind of almost playing around with the MP heroes who are back to objective-based gaming. They're looking to the Tier 2 tower in mid.
Yep, AUI focusing on the objectives, gets his Dragonlance finished up, makes sure to do that, and yeah, gets the tower for himself. Good pickup.
Now, are they going to keep going?
Oh, did he clip him with that? He did,
he
but
did.
Yeah, instant TP. Should be okay in the fountain. But he's going to drop pretty low.
That dot is pretty fast when you got a Veil on you. And they're trying to keep him up, but Febi will survive the mid-tier 3 tower. In the meantime, however, getting ripped apart. He actually still
dies.
Out.
The max scale.
Boy. That's a little too much magical damage. Rubik will buy back into the game. Velo TP'd himself to the front lines. And MP seem to be satisfied with a tier 3 tower and a buyback on a Rubik.
It's early for a tier 3. Even dominating the siege creep by Aoi, hitting that range Rex as much as possible with it. 2 damage, no one's hitting it. No one's noticing the catapult.
It's the trader. Notice the trader. They're trying to get rid of the Plague Ward first.
Yeah, they get down the range Rex to half health. That's definitely a huge, huge gain for NP there. Getting some more aggressive wards down as well in the enemy jungle.
19 minutes in, you start doing damage to a Rax. Yeah. This is a lot better timing for this NP Dro lineup. It's amazing what happens when you don't first phase pick it.
Yep.
It seems they have a lot more of a stable lineup.
Yeah, they have a much more teamfight-oriented lineup, and MVP didn't really win the lanes in any manner just because the Venomancer, honestly. This Veno did such a great job in bottom lane versus the Timbersaw that he shut him down so hard. Their aggro tri-lane as well shut down Velo in such a super hard manner as too. So he's going to be forced to now go into a Diffusal Blade on Lifestealer just to obviously get rid of the Repel.
QO has almost finished his entire BKB. In fact, now it is done at the 20-minute mark. He's been keeping this very secret. In fact, he's just been holding on to the money all the time with Moonlight Shadow. Envy's going to hit the arrow. Not long on the stun on the Timbersaw, so he should be able to chain himself away. If they don't have the damage, he chains down and back into the rest of MVP. Envy is repelled, so he'll have the confidence to move forward, but that Satyr Purge creep moving over as the dominated one from AUI. It still can't do enough to find the kill on the heroes. Forev, Timber chains away. So he's got the distance. QO's just taking the tier 2 tower in the bottom lane. I don't know if he's just trying to get the tower to ping. So MP look behind themselves and they just
lost their BKB.
They lost the entire courier. Maybe QO can get some kind of revenge. If he had the BKB, he might just bait out the ulti from the Warlock, understanding the fact he's dead, but it won't happen. NP very patient, and they find the kill over on the PA.
They led the entire team into his courier, and they kill it with his BKB on it. So now 2 minutes that there's no BKB for the PA. So this is the time for NP to go into that Rosh pit, and this is exactly what they need.
And MVP just try to make the most of it. This is what they were doing before when MP were pressuring the mid lane. They go to the side lanes. They keep the pressure out. They get as much farm on this Lifestealer as well as Timbersaw. These are the two heroes they've been prioritizing probably more than anything else. And it just keeps the side lanes out.
Yeah, they're struggling so much to fight versus this lineup. I mean, they're going to have to wait now a couple minutes now. They don't really want to fight into the Aegis. They have to wait for the BKB anyway, so now it's split push time for MVP. They're going to have to just set up the Rubik, set up the Timbersaw to try to defend this high ground and make sure they don't lose the racks in the meantime. But it might be a bit hard.
Well, Velo has his TP on cooldown for another 3 seconds, then he can come back. The damage to the tier 2 tower on top lane is substantial. If Velo sticks around, he can probably take it. Mid lane, jump in, Eternal Envy. Cops a lot of damage just trying to rip into that range racks with AUI behind him. It's guaranteed. Smoke up from MVP back at the tier 4 towers. So maybe they can inch a little bit closer towards MP without them realizing it. Envy now gets purged off. That's that diffuser blade on Velo going to work. The rock will drop. Fatal Bonds connecting him up. Febby is the Ogre as well as QO. They're all tied together. Velo needs to do so much work with Armlet Toggle, but he just can't do enough, or can he? He's infested up. Forever will give him a ticket to freedom. But how much freedom?
They're still going to get the racks. They're still going to get the objective that they wanted.
For MVP, though, that potentially could have been a lot worse. I think the rank is going to go down anyway, but you keep your Lifestealer alive. You only lose the Ogre after the rock drops, and you get heavily Fatal Bonded.
Could be a completely different situation if they had the BKB on PA. I think it's still extremely hard to fight into NP's lineup right now, especially with the Aegis online. I think they could have tried to go for some split push there, but they didn't. They really didn't want to lose the racks. They even placed down 2 obs wards basically on top of themselves in panic. So you can tell MVP's feeling under the gun right now.
The silver lining is they got the gold from the tier 2 tower on the top lane. Yep. And they get a little bit of that positioning, so that's an upside for them. It allows them to buy up a new item, so you actually get now the Bloodstone over on the Timbersaw, a fresh thing for him. Didn't complete the pipe, which I was wondering if he was going to attempt.
Yeah, and you'd think that the Timbersaw would have such more free reign in this game, because there's not really that much lockdown on the side of MP. Okay, yeah, there's the Gust and everything, and of course there's the Arrow on top of like the Golem and all that, but he's in the fights and he's like, oh my god, I'm actually taking down so fast because of all the damage from the Venomancer.
QO smart TP.
Courier respawns, grabs his BKB, gets his TP. So now they have like a little bit of surge of momentum, at least with this, if they're able to fight while these cooldowns are down from NP. But they don't have too much time.
You still need the damage dealing item over on QO. Or some kind of lockdown, like...
Yeah, having to go the first item BKB on PA is not optimal, to say the least.
Yeah.
We do always see like the Desolator Rush just because of, you need damage on that hero, but he needs a BKB versus this line of NP, or he's just dead every single time.
You're also getting the Desolator over on the Lifestealer, so what does he go as his second item? Is it still worth getting like 2 Desos in one team?
Definitely not getting both. Maybe the Lifestealer will go for a different type, but maybe just go for the Basher. Maybe he goes for the Deso.
Here the jump, QO. That's a Lifestealer infested inside of him. Jumps forward, wants Eternal Envy. They need the vision, the Gust, pushing back for Timbersaw. He can't fight, but the BKB allows QO to break free. Goes in deeper on the back of AUI. They really want that draw, but the Fatal Bond's going to start connecting them up together. In fact, that was a Febby that stole that for the moment. Now they're retreating out. Eternal Envy slowed down once again, but the Timber Chain through for Forever. The damage. Envy is saved by Repel. He's going to get away, and MVP have lost 3. They just fight from the tree lines. Febby's in there with Rose as Forever's also on the run back out. He'll Timber Chain away. Febby not successful with the TP. Mirana gets just enough damage, and now is Timbersaw, the last one for MVP, and it is in fact a full team wipe in favor of MP.
And that may have been MVP's like best chance to fight too. They just got their BKB up. Rock was on cooldown, but they just weren't able to. There's too much on the side of NP right now. They have a mech on the Omni Knight. They're able to just kite the fight back with the Mirana ulti. And I don't know if... did anyone actually on the side of MVP have like a Dust or anything? Because it seemed like they weren't able to really chase out too well. They weren't able to find a focused target. And there's still the Aegis up on the side of NP. So that was probably MVP's best chance, but it's still way too difficult to fight.
He's dead.
Yep,
pretty much. Down for 30 seconds. Now you're going to lose the Timbersaw out of position, and this may just be the game. No Timber, no Ogre, and MP... They don't even have to retreat. They still have Rock up. They still have GA available. They can just go for a GG push if they want it, but QO, he's going ham, he wants to go for it. Now the rock will drop. Will it be enough damage? They're focusing on Savage to try and stop that GA. It won't happen. And there it is. GG, well played. It was the last roll of the dice. And, well, the odds weren't really that great. So MP take game 1 against MVP.
Yeah, great laning, honestly. The lanes were really important for them. I think, obviously, like, NV struggled a bit in the laning phase, but they emphasized on focusing on the other two so heavily. Like, MSS, like, I wouldn't say, like, dominated for it, but he had a great start, free farmed for the most part. Top lane as well, same thing. AUI maybe didn't farm, obviously, as much as you want your Drow in a short lane, but they pressured. So it's like that kind of trade-off that you want to go for. So big props to NP. Picking like that very heavy team fight lineup and just working around and playing around it really well.
I think you put it perfectly at the end of the game where it was like, okay, where's the Timbersaw? We expect him to actually do so much more, but just really didn't see that magical burst damage happen. You expect pressure from Plague Wards, right? Like instead of seeing this heavy Gale and Poison Sting and just he couldn't handle it. Then the Rubik, like you go from full life, you transport him back to base and you still can't keep him up when he has the regeneration of the fountain.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it's like a huge thing or anything, but he actually maxed the lift. I think sometimes we do see like the Rubiks kind of change it up a bit.
You want to see more null?
Yeah, a couple more in the no field. I don't think it would have changed the tide of this game by any mean, but you know, the slight little things make a big difference. But it does seem like NP did have more of like an idea how to play around their draft. MVP seemed like just like after the laning phase, everything happened. They were like on full blown recovery mode. It was like, oh god, what's kind of going on here, you know? So
it was actually the first time where I was almost like I was really happy to see EE be sacked in the mid lane because the recovery was going to be there anyway. He actually turned into this 4th position. It was like arrow wherever you want to. Maybe you could find a couple of hits. Managed to get one on the mid lane too, so they're able to find kills. It just worked perfectly.
Yep.
I like it from MP, and I think I heard in my ear that we're ready to hear back from Machine.
Hey, darling.
Hi.
Hello, Alex.
What, honey? Like,
yeah, I figured we're at this level. We've spoken about 4 words to each other, so I thought I could call you darling. That's right. That's how it works, right?
Yeah, we got that connection. We had a very moonlight.
Candlelit dinner, I think we can call it. There wasn't any moonlight. We were indoors, Toby. Come on, you can do this.
I wasn't invited.
Mood. Oh,
mood light. Okay, I thought you said moonlighting.
Sorry, it's my Australian accent. English people can't hear it.
I think like the Aussie accent works quite well for me. I like it. I certainly like to go down under. All right, we'll leave you for that one. We're going to be talking to our desk for a while. Winter, Pyrion, and Purge. You handsome fellows, you. Let's talk about it. It has been the battle of the fatal bonds, as you were telling me as we walked over here, Ted.
You're going to just come onto all of the male talent?
I figured, like, yeah, I'm going to be as flamboyant as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like nice. It's refreshing.
It's unintimidating.
I don't mind. It's fine. Yeah.
Good. Okay, so let's talk about it. I mean, the first words out of your mouth as I was walking over there, why did that game end so quickly? I took 5 minutes for a drink of water, and Warlock happened.
Said text me when the game's ending, and I texted you 2 minutes after you'd left. So, I mean, Winter pointed out that Veno maxed Gale, and it did a huge amount of work, as Winter was saying, against the Timbersaw. It was really good because it's just so much damage and. The Fatal Bonds was huge in these team fights. It was a great fighting lineup that they picked, I think.
So are we starting to give some credit to NP's draft here, Purge? You feel like that just it really worked out wonders?
I mean, it wasn't weird in any way draft wise. It was really all about that skill build. The Venogale, I believe, with level 4 does about 600 magic damage, so one of the highest nukes in the game. And just laning against Frev, he was able to constantly keep his HP low. If he goes Plague Wards, the more typical build, then Frev lanes pretty much however he wants. And an occasional rotation like this with SVG just kept him shut down. And it also forced PA, because PA had a mediocre game, to have to go BKB first. The courier got sniped, which made him have no items at 22 minutes. So it just became teamfight after teamfight won for NP. So even a couple mistakes here and there by Envy, it didn't really matter, because once they took that big fight on the mid lane, it just got completely one-sided.
Winter, one of the things you said to me was shutting down that Timbersaw was important, and they did so tremendously.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting Timber to be more fun, but because he was placed in a 1v1 matchup, and I think they planned to have the Timber against the Drow lane, but MP switched up their lanes at the start of the game. They had Drow on the top lane against the Lifestealer's lane, and Lifestealer was like put under a lot of pressure in the laning phase because he's against a range hero like Drow.
Sure.
And I mean, a lot of the laning things change when they swap their lanes like this, and MVP, surprisingly, they didn't swap their lanes. Like they maintained their lanes. They were like, oh, maybe we can fight this. We have the Ogre, but
well, I mean, we were talking about Ogre Magi, weren't we? It seems to be a recurring theme at this point in time in terms of Magi wins you games. In fact, that was as soon as the cameras cut, that was what you said to me, Winter, is you got to pick Magi.
It wins you the early game, but in MVP's case, I don't think they gained like enough out of the early game. The Timber was put in a difficult matchup. Maybe they thought like Timber against Veno, he's gonna take wards.
Yeah.
You know, I have reactive armor, I'll be fine. But Veno changed everything up, and Timber lost the lane because of the skill build that Venom went for.
Were there any standout players to any of you guys here on the panel? I'm opening this up to all three.
MSS, definitely.
Just MSS. I mean,
he was leading the way in the kills and everything, and he just played excellently.
Honestly, he did the most with the hero, but I think it was just the overall.
I mean, look at that. That is like the perfect Venom ult right there, and it's just so much damage with the Fatal Bonds as well. It combos really, really well, and I think shutting down a Timber was huge.
Here.
Sorry?
Like, look, and Envy's about to die here multiple times, but every time SVG's there with the heal,
Yeah.
the repel to stop the Chakram from doing any damage gets Envy out. Things like that absolutely ended the game. That's why the game ended so fast. This should have been a fight where MVP got maybe 2 kills.
Yeah.
And sets 5-0. It's literally the Slack strategy. That's how he wins games.
It was really, really good in pubs, like honestly.
Well, that's why Slash got 5.5k or whatever he got. You can grind your way up there if you pick bullshit heroes. So congrats to MP. I think, like Kev said, it wasn't like their draft was anything outrageous and crazy. It was just that they executed it really well.
So, I mean, we said win conditions were MSS delivers, and he did. I do have to kind of look for the other side of the coin now. This is the first in the series, not forgetting it is best of 3. And there was some faith in MVP. And I copied you. I was like, right, MVP, Winter's smart. He knows what's going on. Was this just a kind of a blip on the MVP radar, or did you see some genuine, some real concerning flaws in their game?
Real concerning flaws.
Okay, what were they?
Laning decision and the way they move, and I think because Vela was previously their offlane player, they swapped in over to safe lane, and I think his decision making in the game wasn't, in a few circumstances, wasn't really good. Okay. And I think it tells me that he's not 100% comfortable with his role, and it's not his fault. Like, the team decided to swap around so that 4F goes back to the offlane.
I mean 4F is a more recent presence within the team anyway, right?
Yes. I mean, he was there for a long time, but he just came back, So it's like, oh, I'm the best offlane player, one of the best in the world. Why not take the offlane back, Versus him having to learn carry. Maybe they decided that was a better move.
Both of them have to learn carry anyway. Like one of them has to.
But do you do it on the guy that has proven better skill versus the guy that, if you could draft around him being as like the team fight initiator? I feel like you want the initiator that can be a semi-carry usually to be the one that starts fights in some ways.
But then sometimes you would prefer the more experienced player to learn a new role rather than forcing the new player to learn a new role.
That's a good point.
It's a lot of ifs,
It's ifs and buts. Well, we can bring up the scoreboard and have a little look at how it did go down for Velo. It certainly wasn't the most beautiful of affairs, and we can see the numbers, they don't lie. It was a big game for the boys at NP, and they got their first map victory of the tournament.
Where are those damage numbers? Yeah, 24k for Venomancer. The highest damage output on
24.
MVP Phoenix was 8.3 on QO. If QO just had a good game mid, like the Ogre did a great job zoning Envy, cost him a lot of salves, but QO had to get a fast Deso and then start picking up kills. But because the Deso didn't come fast enough, then all of a sudden SVG has like Mech and Guardian Angel, and then their ability to kill people was gone. And then PA had to go BKB because he was 2 behind on the Deso, and he had to stop the Veno damage, because if he just gets Gale ultied with Veil, dead every time. He has to buy BKB.
Yeah, they have to buy Diffuser as well on top of that, because it's against Omni Knight, and you need to get like the Life Stealer to get it, because the other carry, like the PA couldn't actually afford the Diffuser. So there's a lot of problems that MVP had.
It's interesting as well that you guys. I immediately when I asked who do we watch, all 3 of you had MSS at the tip of your tongue, and yet he wasn't the eternal envy. He's not the big boy in middle. It was of course just his Venomancer play who stacked up the scoreboard.
I mean, he's not the mid player now, but he's played many roles in the past. Yeah. Definitely has played mid before. He used to play mid for EG a couple years ago, actually, for a long time. Played offlane, played supports. He's played carry. He's played almost everything. So he certainly has the mechanical skills to play those 1v1s in the safe lane, and that's definitely something that NP can and will exploit.
It's a tough question, isn't it, when you look at the discussion surrounding MVP changing roles so close to a major event? I mean, this was a recent change, right, Winter?
Yes.
So you're coming into a major event. Is this forced by the lineup change, and so they had to mix up the roles, or was this an active decision? I'm not sure how it works.
Because they deliberately wanted 4F to come back.
Yeah, I mean, it's an improvement, right? Like, Raisin used to be maybe one of the best players on his team when he was at his peak, but he stopped playing around TI4 for about a year or so, came back, was definitely inconsistent, not matching other support levels of the time. Therefore, do you keep Raisin, who's missing targets a bit, maybe should have another year of practice?
They had 3 support. They technically have 3 support players on the team.
Yeah,
before.
Febby was forced to play carry despite being amazing at his support role. So it's like, grab Forev, throw your other support to the carry. So now we only have one person that's on the wrong role or learning a new role. It's hard to say.
It is hard to say, but something you can say is, of course, this replay you've selected. You're going to be able to break that down for us about the 13-minute mark, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes, the first team fight around mid was really significant, mostly for the fact that Envy here was on the Invis on the right side. Q was starting the fight at half HP. The really cool part that Fog pointed out that the Warlock had a Experience Tome, hit 6 unexpectedly, dropped the rock. They got the Starfall down with the Fatal Bonds, and this is the start of the fight here, and it's already over. There's 2 dead heroes. If you look at the HP bars on the MVP side, it's just going to constantly go down and down. And just a simple Guardian Angel. PA doesn't do damage, Lifestealer doesn't do damage. Like, they had so many great tools to just prevent MVP from doing anything in this game.
Oh, their health bars just melt, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, that's just that combination of all that AoE with Veno. It's big. I mean, I think it was interesting what you were saying about they won even though maybe Envy didn't have a great game or whatever. I think if you look at even the way VP play, they're driven by, like, Pasha seems to be like the driving force. So that offlaner or perhaps someone who's roaming, that's kind of what enables those mid players to play this flashy play when they've got a lead and everything like that. And I think what we saw there was that they shut down the Timbersaw, who might have been a problem. They just completely deleted him. He had no impact whatsoever, and that was such a big factor in them winning the game.
And something that we haven't mentioned once is, of course, NP's infatuation with Drow Ranger. It seems to be something that they're a big fan of.
It's not just them.
Well, no, but I mean, it seems to be it's a recurring theme in their draft, and yet we aren't really singing its praises. We've seen them fail with it. We've seen them now succeed with it. Is this okay? So it's not just an NP then? Am I being a fool for mentioning this as a running trend?
I mean, it's definitely, like Kev was saying, this is a very usual lineup.
It's just
for them.
Everyone's going to.
Lots of people like to take Drow. She wins you lanes just because once she hits 6, suddenly everybody hits like a truck.
Everyone's happy.
It's like. It's kind of ridiculous, but
you know what a big thing about it is? I think they often pick Potom mid. Potom has terrible base damage. She's hitting for like 43 on average. If you put a Drow in the game, already you get +7. So, I mean, that game was a bad example because Ogre just sat there and traded with him. But if that was just a straight 1v1 matchup, it gives you a lot more advantage for last hitting against other heroes. So I think that might be part of it, while it's also very good in the meta and gives them more advantages in their 1v1s. It gives them opportunity to do more creative things lane-wise in their draft.
Okay, and talking of draft, it has begun already. Bans are on the board.